Our vibe. Our tribe.
This is LADZ City Radio.
With Crypto Buffalo.
We're going to have a really great conversation here with Zeneca, my man, who is covering the markets of NFTs. And it's one of those things that, to describe your role, it's so unique. There's nobody really doing this on the level that you were doing this, covering so many different projects, the floor prices for a lot of different NFT projects. And, you know, man, I'm just blown away, and I'm just going to shut up and let you talk. Zeneca, man, break it down. How did this start for you, and where are you headed in the space of NFTs?
Sure. I think there are a couple other people who are putting these stats out there. I wouldn't say I'm the only one. People have got websites and whatnot, but I think I'm the only one who tweets it out and doesn't just leave the stats there. I'll spend, 5-10 tweets deciphering it and analyzing it. And I think that's potentially why a lot of people seem to be liking what I'm putting out there. How I got started, I think it's been like 6 weeks that I've been doing this. I've been in the NFT space for 3-4 months, but about 6 weeks ago, I was buying and selling, flipping so many things, and there were so many projects that I just personally wanted to track the floor prices of them and a couple of other stats. So I started this Google spreadsheet, put all the projects and the stats in there, and it was just for me initially, and then I shared it with a couple of friends who were in the same thing. They found it really interesting, and it just sort of made sense, tweak this out. Maybe other people are interested. They probably are. And I think it was literally a month ago today that I sent my first tweet out. I was looking at it yesterday. And, it's just so basic compared to what it's grown to now. Now there's over 50 projects, maybe over 60 projects that I track. I think it was maybe 10 or 12 back then, which it's also just a statement on the market and how many new projects there have been. Because I'm not even picking half of all the projects that get dropped. I do sort of curate the ones that have like some sort of chance of surviving. Mm-hmm. And I've taken a bunch off, and back then it was like apes, cats, camels were on there. They were a thing. They've disappeared, and punks and the big ones. And now there's 70.
Yeah, man. Is this a team? No, Nifty Q. I knew you'd bring up Yetis. Is this a team, or are you doing this all on your own?
No, this is just me.
My man. What did you do before this?
I was a professional poker player for 15 years.
Savage. See, I told you this guy's special, man. He's got it. He's got the thing, the it factor.
I mean, a lot of stats and numbers in poker as well, so it's sort of a natural inclination to work with these numbers. But I mean, there are people out there way smarter than me doing way more analytics with stats. I'm just a guy who looks at floor prices on OpenSea and manually enters them into a spreadsheet. And then, I'm working on automating it so that saves me some time. But, there's people who are good at machine learning and using AI to analyze trends, and I'm sure that in even a couple of months my spreadsheet is going to look amateur in comparison to some of the other stuff. But I just look forward to working with some of those projects, and again, just sort of hopefully being able to analyze the data that better people can provide.
Yeah, I think you could have companies that do this, right? And you can have a whole group behind this, but I think you bring that human element to it, man, where, somebody who's diving deep on the numbers every day, staying on the pulse of this, that there's a lot of value in that. And that's why we keep seeing you pop up on NFT Live when Nifty Q would bring up a lot of your charts. And, every time we've been talking about you, it's just been like, man, this is something that I told Q a couple months back. I said, man, we've got TA for, the overall coin market, but with NFTs, it would be amazing to have somebody to break it down and do a show or do a report that shows like, hey, here's where we're at. This is why this floor fell. This is why these are really rare right now. A lot of people are just chasing everything because of the FOMO and not truly even understanding what the hell's going on. So I think what you're doing, man, it's really needed, and it's something that I'm just honored to be able to chat with you right now on this. And I've been following your Twitter, and so go ahead and tell us what the Zenacademy is all about.
Yeah, so that's I just dropped that announcement today. It's still in the early stages of development, but I've got the ball rolling now. So the vision and the idea behind it is I want to create a community of people where we share good information, so stats, objective analysis, things that aren't based on hype and FOMO and chilling on Twitter, which there's way too much of.
Oh yeah.
And just have that nice educational environment where someone new to the space can be directed towards or come to, and people are friendly and they're willing to take the time to, talk them through how to set up MetaMask, what an NFT is, even how to buy one, why they might want to buy one. And, I'm going to be extremely hands-on, and I'll be writing content, and I'll be in the Discord, 16 hours a day when I'm awake, helping people. But I'm hoping that it grows beyond just me, and people get on board and pick up the same sort of like ethos to help each other out.
Yeah.
And eventually it just becomes this big entity. So I don't really know what the end goal is or where it's going to be in 6 months. It's just starting out now as this community. And so I've got a dev creating the website and a graphics designer, and there is going to be an NFT token aspect to it. The way I'm thinking of it now, it's not finalized, but there's basically going to be 2 tokens. One is going to be free, and one is going to cost some nominal amount, say 0.03, 0.05. And neither of them are required to access the Discord or the website or anything. Everything is going to be free for everyone always. Essentially, the pay token is just a way for, if someone wants to support me and the project, they can buy it. It'll probably give them a special role in Discord and maybe access to one private channel with everyone who holds it. But I'm not even sure about that. It's essentially just a badge of support. And the free one is, I really like this idea. It's essentially anyone who has never owned an NFT before, I will be sending out their first NFT to them. And it will just be similar to the paid one, a badge, maybe just slightly different color or something like that, different tiers. And, we'll talk people through how to set up MetaMask. And then I personally will send them their first NFT. And, it'll cost a few bucks in gas. And that's sort of part of why I'm charging for the other one, to help cover costs. And this is my full-time job now. So,
Nice.
it's I just want to create that good taste in people's mouth when they enter the NFT space. So many people, they get scammed or they're not sure where to start. And even if they don't get scammed, they just end up buying some crappy, shitty project or the first thing that they see because they want to get involved. And it's just cool to be able to give someone an NFT and they can see it, in their MetaMask and on their phone and on their PC. And I'm just really excited. I don't really know where it's going to lead, and a lot of these things are still subject to change, but I have this vision and I'm really working towards it.
I love the vision, man. And I'll tell you right now, there's too many shillers and traders and not enough teachers in this space. And I think that's one thing where a lot of people come in and they get taken advantage of, right? And they get scared away. And that's something within LADZ City that we're really focusing on, trying to bring in more teachers that have, a good, solid community behind them or an experience behind them. And they do this day in, day out, man. So first of all, congrats on going full time. I mean, that's something that, for where you're headed, you need to do that, right? You really need to be committed to this. The space moves fast, and you can move fast in this space as well if you're committed to it. And with LADZ City, we're seeing some major growth here with people that have been committing themselves to going full time. And I just love that, because in this space, your life can change. As you've seen, you've been, a couple months now in this space and seeing the progress already with what you're doing. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine a year where you'll be if you stay on this? I mean, it sounds like you're going to, of course. Exactly. Yeah. And the lives that you're going to change, and the people that will come in here and suddenly it will go, oh man, I have somebody here I trust. He's going to walk me through this. He's going to give me my first NFT. I'm going to now learn about that process and not have to go get my bank account connected to this and that and do all these crazy things just yet. And I think that's something that's really going to help a lot of people with onboarding and at least understanding the space, because it's tricky. Friends and family of mine that I try to explain what's going on, they just look at me like I'm talking about some pyramid scheme or some crazy back alley game or something. And
well, when I first got into NFTs, I mean, and crypto again this year, I had friends who were into it, and they were telling me about punks and hash masks and how there were thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, and I obviously thought they were getting scammed, just like this is some Ponzi scheme they're getting deeper into, because it's so difficult to wrap your head around. I mean, for us now that we're in the space, it's just natural, and sometimes it's hard to put yourself in the shoes of someone who doesn't know the value of NFTs. But I speak to people semi-frequently now who don't believe in it. They think it's fake and it's all going to come crashing down. And then I spend some time and talk them through where I think the value is. And usually by the end, most reasonable people will come around to the concept. Yep. And they start getting excited about all the potential use cases of NFTs and to see it, how it's going to be the future. Yeah.
Yeah. For every person, their first transfer of moving or buying Ethereum or Bitcoin and then moving it from an exchange to a wallet, and you're sending it to that address, and then you sit back and you hold your breath and you're like, oh my God, is this real? Is this actually going to happen? And then it goes through and you see the transaction ID and you're like, oh man, this works. And you're like, I
Yeah.
knew all along. I remember that feeling. I'll never forget it. And so I think it's one of those things that, again, we need more teachers in this space. We're getting some comments here. Marty McFly is asking, ever consider doing the academy with an existing community like the LADZ? We're going to be transparent here. Me and Q have talked with Zeneca about that exact thing, because we definitely see the value in what you're doing, and we want to help you build your community, build your brand, and build you up as much as we can. And if there's any chance that you'd be interested in coming into LADZ City to do a report or a show or anything, I know these lads here they're dying for it, man. We need somebody that can really connect with us on that deeper level with all the information you're gathering on a daily, man. I think you'd get some massive support here. The door is open, but we're not going to pull you in, brother. It's got to be something you do on your own that you're feeling here and you're liking our vibe of this tribe. But yeah, Marty, we're trying to get him in, man. We're trying to get you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are a lot of great communities like LADZ City, and what I see is, I do want to keep Zenacademy as its own separate thing,
For sure.
but there's going to be a lot of cross-pollination where I think we can, collaborate on things and spread information and help each other out. And every community is going to have its own vibe and what it's going for. And there are paid communities, and I have nothing against those. Some of them are great. They help their members out, and there's some things you can do with a paid Discord where there's only 500 members. They're exclusivity, and if there's say 10,000, then it's just too difficult to manage certain things. And every community is different. And I'm definitely interested and looking forward to working with LADZ City in various capacities in the future, and I think we can all help each other out.
Oh, for sure. I know a lot of lads that would love to go over to Zenacademy and be a member of that as well. And and there's definitely that build there where the great thing about LADZ is we're a giant city. When people leave the city, they go on vacations, they go out in the desert and find themselves, and then they come on back to the city with the value that they did, on that little journey. And so I think for any of the content creators that I've worked with to bring on board, I never tell them that we own them by any means. They can't work with anybody else. They don't have to stay here. They literally can go and grow as much as they want. And as long as they, want to stick around and help with us and, share that value that they got while they're out there, man, it's a win-win, and it needs to be in every kind of, collaboration. So I'm loving supporting your story, man. And we're getting some questions here. Also, what's your ape story? How about your ape over here?
So I missed the initial hype of the apes. I didn't mint any. I didn't hear about them until they had minted out. I wasn't as well sort of entrenched in the NFT community back then. And actually, maybe 3 weeks, a month before the Bored Ape Yacht Club, there was another ape project, ape only, which I went pretty hard into because I was like, apes are cool. People like aping. It's a whole thing. And they had a cool mechanic where you could burn your NFT in exchange for a metal print, which I still think you can. And then so when I saw the Bored Ape Yacht Club, there was a bit of me that was just like, no, my apes are better. Mine are cooler. I'm just going to, this is a fad and sit back and people will realize. And obviously that didn't happen. And then sometime around just before they completely blew up, I think the price was still around 0.5-ish ETH. I just started seeing an enormous amount of attention given to them on Twitter and in Discords and everywhere. And I think I was out walking with my fiance and my dog, and I saw these notifications blowing up, and I was like, I need to get an ape. I need to get an ape. And then I just went on and bought the cheapest one I could find, the floor model. And then, an hour later, it was still blown up. And then I was like, okay, I need to get another one. And I didn't have enough ETH, so I had to deposit fiat. So I'm originally from Australia, so Australian dollars into an exchange, into my ETH account. And thankfully, that only takes, 10 minutes for me. So I did that and then bought another floor ape. And that was the first two, but that's still not the third ape. So I have three. And my profile picture is essentially 24 hours later. I don't know who remembers, but there was this weekend where apes were blowing up 0.5, 0.6, then 1 ETH. And then there's this whole flippening story when the apes were going to, the ape floor was going to flip the Meebits floor. And I think at that point in time, Meebits were, at one of their lowest points, their floor was like 0.8, just below 0.8. And apes were going 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. And then I noticed at one point there was just one ape left to go. If I bought that ape, then the ape floor would be higher than the Meebits floor. And I was like, okay, I need that ape. I have to get that. And thankfully I had the ETH. I think it was 0.75 or something like that. Immediately bought it, tweeted about it. And I think it was Pranksy probably Pranksy, maybe Loopify. They tweeted and was like, I dubbed this the Flippener. And that's sort of just the name of the ape now.
Dude, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, I like that it has a bit of a story. And yeah, I mean, there's always the option to buy a different ape. There are other apes that are like aesthetically a little better, but just because of the story, I think this will always be my profile picture.
That's
Buffalo,
great.
did you get yourself an ape? I heard Q and Ronan talking about it for feel like forever, and I sat there and said, I'm gonna keep waiting. I definitely regret that decision. Same with the land that you guys bought back in the day, and I decided not to do that.
Yeah, no, this guy right here has been so busy on production and building out LADZ City that the only gen art project that I purchased, I'm embarrassed to say this, Zeneca, please don't judge me, but it's the Yetis. I bought a couple Yetis.
Oh boy.
I got some advice from the top. No, actually, I just was bored and was like, I'll buy a couple. And then I was like, oh, so that died, huh? And I was like, all right, rest in peace, Yetis. But
Did you mint them or did you buy them on the secondary?
I bought them. I bought them right away with the initial sale, and then got the release. One of them's pretty cool. The other one's like when I saw the second one, I was
they catch so much flack that I think they're going to be famous one day just how bad the release was. I think I heard someone say that.
Maybe
like
they'll
week
have
or
a
so
flipper
ago.
as well, man. I'm hanging on, man. My Yeti strong, baby.
Well, so I think I have this somewhat wild theory that in 5-10 years time, any of these projects from early 2021, they might still be valuable. Like we look at them now and say, oh, there's 10K projects every day. There's so many of them. But, when there's literally trillions of NFTs, this is going to be remembered as the early days. And there might be historic value. Maybe not, but yeah.
All right, 10 years from now, I'll come check back with you on that and ask about the value. Yeah. Oh man. So it's just one of those. It's all fun for me, man. And I actually went to sleep the night that Ronan came into LADZ City and told everybody about Bored Apes, and then I woke up in the morning and kind of missed that boat. And again, I haven't really been chasing a lot of this. I don't get the FOMO either, to be honest with you. I feel like there's so many projects that are coming down the pipeline. There's so many avenues to invest, and I'm a value investor that likes to just set it and forget it. So I can't really trade.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of trading, or do you just get in early with stuff and hold it? Like, what's your kind of game plan?
I did do a decent amount of trading maybe a month ago, even as soon as maybe 2 weeks ago. I started doing less of that, partially because I think the market is getting oversaturated. And like, go back a month, you could basically, if you knew about a project as it was minting, you could mint a bunch, and then they almost immediately trade for double in secondary if there was enough hype behind it. I did the same with the Yetis because they had that whole 1 week period where they weren't revealed and price went up and people were obviously, and then the reveal was a disaster. But now you're getting a lot of instances where they sell out, and because so many people are just looking to flip, that you maybe get a small profit, but maybe they dip very quickly and below mint, and it's just getting riskier and riskier, and more people are sort of playing the gambling game where they're just hoping for laser eyes, gold chain, Ethereum logo, etc. Type things, robot. Whatever's the rare crown trait that some whale will come in and pay up for. Yeah. And obviously there's value if the project takes off like, say, Apes or Cool Cats has. Then, the people that are buying those rare traded things for 2 ETH, maybe they become worth 50 ETH later on. And so that they're playing a different game as well. And there's definitely money to be made flipping, and depending on your risk profile and all that kind of thing. Anyway, get back to your question. I don't do as much trading now. I'm moving more towards, I guess, the value investing side, to think, where I think there's tremendous value in certain blue chip projects, and buying and holding them is gonna, it's gonna return a good investment in the long term, and B, it sort of cuts down on the time investment. In order to flip and stay on top of these projects, you really do need to have your finger on the pulse. And even me, I do these stats. I spend an hour, probably 2 hours a day if you include all the art block stuff I do, curating all the stats and then analyzing them. And I still, I don't feel like I have my finger on the pulse anymore. It's just, you need to spend so much time keeping on top of all these projects to get a significant edge. You can definitely make some money just minting and flipping probably still, but indiscriminately. But to make the big bucks and save time, I'm just sort of, putting my money in art blocks. I have 3 apes and I'm going to keep them. I'd like to work up towards getting CryptoPunk one day. A Sandbox Land, Z Horses. There's a bunch of these projects that they've been around for a year. They're really building and they're well established. And I think that as the entire space grows, a lot of money is just going to continue to flow towards these blue chip NFTs.
Yeah, amen to that, man. And that started the whole process for me, was buying a big plot in the sandbox connected to Atari, and then finding Layer 1, which then clicked on that and saw NFT Live, and now I'm working with Q and everyone here in LADZ City. It's just an amazing journey, and everyone thought I would have been crazy spending 10 ETH on a plot back then. But to me, it was the start of like believing in that long-term vision. And of course, you know, Sandbox isn't open yet still, but I mean, there's so many projects that when that thing does go, it's going to be a lot of fun. And it definitely wasn't something I wanted to trade. Got some offers, and I'm like, nah, man, this isn't why I bought it. I think that's the big thing too. People buy. It's almost like you get a lot of people that they got the casino vibe, right? Let it roll, baby. Papa needs a new pair of shoes, and they're like scratch tickets and stuff. It's like, man, what are you buying this for? Are you buying this because you hope you're going to get the rare one, or are you buying this because you believe in the white paper and the potential of what this community is going to be? I think a lot of people are just running around chasing stuff right now, and I worry for them. But that's where I love about what you're doing, man. It's a lot of people can actually see the value in these things and see the return. And also, do you break down a lot of the utility and a lot of the promises that these projects are doing as well, or are you primarily looking at numbers?
Look into the sort of the roadmap and the utility that they offer, especially if it's a project that I'm interested in buying into myself. I think, to be honest, with a lot of the newer projects that I add onto my list, it's basically just the numbers, because most of their roadmaps are essentially the same. They're cookie cutter. You know, after 25%, we might donate to charity. After 50%, we might create a comic, and 75% merch, 100% animated show. It's just, yes, some people try new things and they're interesting. You know, there's community wallets now, and that's cool as well. But again, most of them are essentially the same. And a lot of people in the space have such a short-term mindset, I think, that if a project doesn't deliver something on their roadmap really quickly, people start getting bored with it and move on to the next hot thing. And a lot of the roadmap goals, you know, they take months to deliver on. So it's nice to see that they have roadmaps, I guess, but it's a long way from having a roadmap to actually believing that they can deliver on it. And I think that's where I like to look into the team behind a project. Oh, yeah. If they're anonymous or not. If they're anonymous, it's just more and more difficult to justify putting your faith in them. And if they're not, then, you know, that's already a leg up. And you look into, say, is the artist well known? Is there someone with knowledge in, say, the video gaming industry if they're trying to create a game? Or is there someone who has worked in movies and television production if they're creating a show? That kind of stuff, that can really help. And I mean, even then, that's not necessarily enough. Sometimes it's just like you need an X factor or to strike lightning in a bottle to have true success. It's really difficult to launch a successful NFT project now. It's not enough to have a good team. It's not enough to have a good roadmap. It's not enough to have good art. It's such a combination of varied factors. Yeah.
So before I let you go, are there any tools that you recommend people check out? I've posted your links here for Twitter and Substack, and definitely check out as he opens up the Zenacademy, you guys. Is there any tools that you're using? Like, how do you find out about something that's super new before it launches, or, you know, way before it's even developed in that sense? Like, how are you staying on the pulse?
Honestly, it's by being in 100 Discords. I'm literally in 100 because when I try and join a new one, it tells me I'm at the limit and I need to delete one. And, you know, you just start talking to people and you see the same faces. I mean, the NFT community isn't very large. You'll see the same people pop up from one Discord to another. You start trying to identify who you can trust, who knows what's coming up, and you just hear things. And then, you know, Twitter it's not the best, but you hear about projects there. There are websites that have sort of, you know, upcoming drop calendars. I'm hesitant to name any of them specifically because I'm not sure if some of them do it, you know, only if projects pay them or not, and I don't like to support that. But I think, you know, there are tools out there that if you dig a little deeply, if you Google upcoming drop calendars, you could probably find them. And then it's less about knowing what's upcoming, I think, and digging through the fat a bit, and or cutting through the fat. And I guess I'm in a unique situation, which is sort of a double-edged sword, where most projects now will send me a DM and tell me that they're about to release, hoping that I shill for them, or asking about some sort of collaboration or partnership. And so I get to hear about a lot of things in advance, but it also means I get a ton of, you know, awful projects.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean I get in on them. Like the people behind Cool Cats messaged me before they launched and asking me for some thoughts and whatnot. And, you know, I thought it was cool. And it's just sort of like, it was one of those other projects that I just like dismissed. and obviously slept on. And so I missed out on them. And yeah.
Yeah, right on, man. Hey, Zeneca, I appreciate you coming on LADZ City Radio today. I appreciate you not just trading, but teaching in this space. I always want to support anybody who's teaching because it's definitely something that there's just not enough of. And, if you ever want to come back into LADZ City or work on anything, man, the door is open. The gates are unlocked here in LADZ City, and the lads would love to have you around. So take care, man. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we let you go here on LADZ City Radio?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And just keep your eyes peeled for Zenacademy. I'll announce it on Twitter. And
Awesome, man. Take care, brother. Wish you all the best.
all right, bye-bye.
To hear more about LADZ City Radio and our special guests, just type LADZ.city on your browser. LADZ City Radio.
Our vibe, our tribe.